At the end of last show, I mentioned that I was going on a trip and was trying to decide if I should take my Steam Deck or my Switch or neither on the trip. And I made a decision, and the trip has come and gone. I'm back now, so that's good. I took my Switch, and I thought I was like, oh yeah, Switch 2 announcement's coming out, like, you know, gonna play some Switch games, get really hyped from Nintendo stuff and whatever. And I tried to do that. I did play some games on the Switch. But I didn't really find myself to be that hyped about the Switch 1 when I was playing it in anticipation of the Switch 2.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I don't want to spoil the show, but this is all kind of gelling now a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I took the Switch, and I had actually gotten a new game. I got Mario versus Donkey Kong, whatever the Switch version of that is, which is like a little puzzle game. It's like a little puzzle platformer thing, I guess you would say. It's not a typical Mario game, and it's kind of fun. And I played a little bit of it, but I tended to find myself being like, yeah, this is okay. Let me try some Super Mario Odyssey. Like, let me see, that was a fun game. Let me try that. And I could not mechanically get my brain into Super Mario Odyssey mode, and I've also mostly finished it. So the things I had left to do, like the jump rope in the New Donk City, was too hard to really stick with to do 100 jumps.
Yes, it's a chore.
Exactly.
Now.
I was like, I'm not really into this particular thing. But also I was playing, I realized that actually an interesting detail there is I have the Hori split pad, which is like the Steam Deck size controller things that slide on the side of the Switch to make it usable in adult hands, right?
Yeah.
And those don't have rumble, for one, and they have different feeling buttons, of course, for two. And when I got home, I put the original Joy-Con back onto my Switch just kind of for fun. And they have rumble, and they're the original Joy-Con. And I found myself with weird muscle memory for Super Mario Odyssey, where I was suddenly able to do some kind of double jump thing with the hat that I forgot was even an option. It was weird the way that the muscle memory worked when I got home and put the original Joy-Con back on the Switch.
So do you think the experience that you had with the Switch during travel was caused by the games you were playing, just not being excited about the games themselves, or was it a hardware related thing? Would you have had the same experience if you were playing, maybe not great games on your Steam Deck?
I think it would have been different games on the Steam Deck. That's the thing, is that the Steam Deck has more recent games, right? The Switch is a little bit frozen in time with the stuff that it has. It's granted there are some new games for it. There's some stuff that came out last year and whatever, but the Switch feels old now, I think, is part of it. And the Steam Deck is old. I mean, it's not as old as the Switch, but the Steam Deck is, several years old now, but it still plays games that are novel to me, I guess. And it feels more like a serious gaming device, which maybe we'll get into with the Switch too. But the Steam Deck is just seems more my speed as compared to the Switch.
Definitely more variety there, and I think more you can really change it up depending on your mood on the Steam Deck. Whereas I don't know that I think. I mean, yes, the Switch one is old, but I don't know that I would classify it as old. But I would say I don't know that I would say the games are old, but I don't know. I don't feel like there's as much variety on the Switch. I feel like you're kind of locked into a certain I don't know, set of tropes, which is not a bad thing because they tend to be very high quality a lot of the time, or very good things some of the time. But maybe if you're just not in the mood for that, there's no getting out of it.
Yeah, I mean, my current in progress games on the Switch one are Super Mario RPG Remake, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, which I barely even started, and then kind of bounced right off of. And Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which I did play 3 or 4 worlds of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which is it's a fun little game. Like I said, I got it recently, and it's new to me. But those were the kind of the choices that I had given myself, and I have a bunch of other games. But I realized I used to buy a bunch of indie games on the Switch. Right, I bought Hades for the first time on the Switch because it was portable. And now the Steam Deck is portable and kind of took that title. And now I would be playing Hades 2 on the Switch, or on the Steam Deck rather, if I had brought the Steam Deck with me. And that probably would have been a more engaging experience than what I had done with the Switch.
That Freudian slip was a great segue into talking about the Switch 2 because, there might be some opportunity to I don't know, reinvigorate that indie different game opportunity because of what it offers now. So I don't know. Let's get into it. Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 150. So yeah, we've been talking about Switch 1 things, but of course the news of the day is the Switch 2, which was announced in the full Nintendo Direct last week on April 2nd, I believe it was. And they came out with a lot of good information about the Switch, and there's still a few questions, I would say, that we don't know the answers to. But for the most part, I think everything is at least revealed enough for people to make purchasing decisions. And I think that's what we're going to talk about for us today.
Yeah, I mean, we learned, basically everything I wanted to know. A lot of the rumors were confirmed or debunked. We learned a lot about the games. It was a pretty flushed out presentation. I was really happy with all of the information that was provided.
Yeah, so we should go through this probably in categories, I guess. Maybe start talking about some of the hardware stuff and what we're excited about there, and then move on to kind of games and some other stuff. If that works for you?
Yeah, I want to start maybe with the, super facts, meta facts. I don't know what you call this, but the date that we have is June 5th, 2025 for a release date. Now, how much that date actually matters remains to be seen, because whether you can actually get your hands on something on June 5th or not, we don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like game release dates matter very much, but hardware release dates matter less because it's all dependent on whether you can actually get it or not.
Yeah, well, and it's further complicated by the current U.S. political situation.
Yeah, and what we have written down here is that it will be at least $450 because that was the price that was announced, but obviously bunches of stuff going on how much stuff is going to cost. So we don't really know at this point. It's going to be at least $450. I think it's only going to go up, right? And that
it's definitely not going backwards.
It's not going down. Interesting price point, though. Just at the $450, considering nothing else going on, right? If we just hold all things equal, the Steam Deck OLED starts at $549. The regular Steam Deck, the non-OLED, starts at $400. So it's right there in that handheld market, which is higher than where the Switch 1 landed.
Oh, yeah. The Switch 1 was $300, $299 for its entire life. The whole run of the 8-year Switch 1 generation was $300 for a Switch 1. If you went and buy one today, it's going to be $300 because that's what they cost. So this is 50% more, of course, 450 versus 300. And I don't know. It's a lot because it is almost the same price as the PS5 was brand new. But also it's better than certain things are better than a Steam Deck, and it's something you can take on the go. So there's kind of trade-offs there, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about the price, particularly when we start talking about the hardware and where this all sits in terms of competitiveness and in power and screen size and all of that. For me, it puts it in a different market, right? Switch used to be oh yeah, I can have a Steam Deck and a Switch and whatever. But now you start to say, okay, they're kind of competing devices now. And whether that will remain, and I'll probably end up having both anyway, but it's just putting it into that price point, I think puts it as a direct competitor to the Steam Deck rather than a little bit of a parallel.
Oh yeah, no, Nintendo has always kind of slotted in, I would say, in the lower end of the price spectrum. I forget exactly what the price was on the Wii U, but the Wii at one point, it was down to $99, I think. And the GameCube, same deal. At one point in its lifetime. So Nintendo has always been in the hey, we're just this cheap console that you can get for your kids. It's really easy to have a Nintendo console and something else. And now it's getting to the point where Nintendo is here to play with the rest of the Xbox and PlayStation world, and they have pricing to match.
Okay, well, what do you get for supposedly $450? The biggest thing for me in terms of hardware, the biggest thing that I was pleasantly surprised by was the 7.9 inch screen. And I say that because I went out and I looked, I said, what are the sizes of all of the others? That seems really large to me. Like, it seems like, is it the biggest on the market? And it's not quite the biggest that's out there. The Steam Deck OLED is 7.4 inches. So it's, half an inch bigger than that. The PlayStation Portal, which I found, which neither of us have, but is 8 inches. But the Lenovo Legion Go is 8.8 inches. It's huge. So, I mean, but I don't think anything, maybe there's a couple others out there, but in general, like, things top out at around the 7.5 inch or 7 inch range. So this is definitely bigger than that. And that, I don't know, that speaks a lot to me because I've got terrible eyes and how far I hold the device away from me. I can't see the tiny stuff on the screen. So I'm hoping that 7.9 inch screen is actually, a really, I don't know. I have to go see one in person, which I haven't done, but, that, I don't know. It was really cool, really important to me that it had such a large screen.
Yeah, I was looking up the Switch 1 OLED specs, and the Switch 1 OLED has a 6.9, maybe 7-inch screen, I think. 7-inch OLED. The original Switch had a 6.2-inch LCD. So this is much bigger than the original Switch. And I remember going to the store and looking, before I got my Switch OLED, looking at the Switch OLED next to the Switch regular and thinking, oh my gosh, that screen is so much bigger. But this is another, like, that much, again, bigger. And so that should be pretty good for kind of the more adult gamer crowd of which we are part. So
we don't have it listed here, but the larger screen is kind of directly correlated. It's a larger device overall, which I mean, I hope it's not too much heavier because the weight of the Switch is really nice, but I'd be okay with a little bit more weight for the increase in size. The larger device overall, very welcome change for me.
Oh yeah, no, I think that it's gonna feel better in the hand. Like, I think it's gonna be better for holding, like, handheld mode, which is cool. So it does look. I just looked up some stuff. The Switch 2 is 4 inches tall and 9.5 inches long, roughly. And the Steam Deck is 4.5 inches by 11, almost 12 inches. So it's going to still be like 2 inches narrower than the Steam Deck and a half inch shorter too, which is good because the Steam Deck is huge.
Yeah, it's really big. I don't want to get into speculation this early in the show, but suffice to say that I think there's an opportunity for a Switch 2 Lite that is a little smaller, and I think that would be welcome for kids and maybe as a cheaper alternative down the road. But overall, happy with the size, happy it's this big, happy this is the base model.
Yeah, I think they hit the right balance there. Some other details about the screen that we didn't mention. It's got 1080p on the handheld, which is more than the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is 1280 by 800. This will be 1920 by 1080 on the Switch 2, which is pretty cool. It also does 120 hertz variable refresh rate screen, I guess, for frame rate. And it has HDR as well.
Not OLED, though.
No, it's not OLED, which makes me sad.
It matter?
It doesn't. Is the
HDR going to outweigh the OLED for you? Like, is it gonna be good enough?
I think given the fact that it's going to be the only way to play Switch 2 games for a little while, it's going to be enough by default. I don't think I'm going to be sitting there being like, oh man, this screen is so bad. Oh man, this screen is so bad. But I do think eventually there's going to be a Switch 2 OLED and it's going to look even better than the Switch 2 LCD.
Does the 120 hertz and the 1080p matter for you? Because I don't know that it matters to me.
I don't think the 1080 matters, but I do think that the 120 hertz will matter for certain games. Like being able to play like Hades at a high refresh rate looks better. So like I have a gaming monitor on my PC, and granted it's bigger than my Steam Deck, but when I play on the Steam Deck, it's 60 frames is the best it can do, and when I play on my computer, it can do 144 frames, I think. And it definitely does look smoother, and it could be a function of the bigger screen also, but it does look smoother on that higher refresh rate. So I'm kind of thinking that could matter a little bit, but it also remains to be seen how the hardware can kind of keep up and if it really is truly 120 hertz always, like locked frame rate for something like a Hades 2.
Right. Kind of speaking about that power, I was surprised to see the when it is docked that it can actually go up to 4K on your TV. I mean, obviously, I think it's upscaling. It's not rendering at 4K, but that was, I don't know, a surprise to me as well. I mean, we expected a more powerful device. We expected something, kind of more powerful, but I don't know. I wasn't holding my breath for a 4K option.
No, that was definitely a reach. Like, I think everybody was thinking like, oh man, if it could do, 1080p 60, then we'd be in good shape with the Switch 2. But they're saying like, oh yeah, it can do 4K 60 when docked, which is pretty cool. I'm definitely going to hook it up to my 4K OLED TV since I can't get an OLED Switch yet. I'll just make one by hooking it up to my OLED TV and kind of go from there. I did see a stat that was on the battery life that said it was going to be pretty short, I think. Yeah,
pretty bad, I heard. Yeah,
something like 2 or 3 hours, which is not great. Oh yeah, 2 to 6.5 hours depending on the game, says IGN's comparison, where the Switch OLED says 4.5 to 9 hours.
I mean, it's not great, but honestly, again, comparing to those devices in the same tier, it's not much different.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
I mean, I guess I like to play things in handheld mode, but I'm never really that far from a power. I'm never that far from an outlet, so yeah, it matters and it kind of sucks. But at the same time, I don't know that it's going to impact me too much.
I think I'm going to be a little bit annoyed if I can't take a 3-hour plane flight on a single charge of the Switch. Yes, I always travel with a giant battery and I'll be fine. And there's usually power on airplanes nowadays, but it will be a little bit annoying to have to plug in on a relatively short trip. But I mean, I guess that's just the way we live, and that's fine. I mean, the Steam Deck lasts a while on the indie games that I play, and I'm assuming the Switch 2 will as well. But it just I'm gonna want to play the new Mario Kart or hopefully they're gonna come out with some kind of 3D Mario at some point, and Super Mario Odyssey 2, let's go. Which, by the way, to be clear, did not get announced. There is no new 3D Mario as of now, which I'll just throw that out there now. But if and when that happens, that's going to be the major Switch 2 game, and it's probably going to get 2 hours of battery life on the Switch 2.
Well, while you're having it sitting on your tray table on the plane, if your plane has plugs, there you can charge it while it's sitting there now because it has 2 USB ports. What a revolutionary idea!
Oh my gosh, this is amazing, and it's kind of crazy that this is, as far as I know, maybe the first portable device that has more than one USB-C port on it. I'm thinking iPads, I'm thinking Steam Deck, I'm thinking Switch. I don't know. Maybe there's one other Windows handheld that has 2 USB-C ports, I think. But all of these, including, like I said, the iPad Pro, any of those, they all just have one little USB-C port. And now they are rectifying, I would say, the biggest annoyance in terms of the charging situation on the Switch 1 and not making you plug into the bottom of the Switch 2, which is very welcome change.
I mean, I would have been okay if you could only plug into the top, but that doesn't work for the dock.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they want to be able to do that because I think there were rumors that were saying oh yeah, it's going to have a USB-C port on the top, and everybody's like, oh, well then are you going to have to put it in the dock upside down? Which
right.
I don't know. You would have learned how to do that. It would have been fine. But no, they just put 2 USB-C ports on it, which is the obvious answer. It's okay, that's easy. Sure, go ahead, do that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I actually had for my Switch 1, I had the official Nintendo licensed little Switch stand, which was this foldable thing that folded down into this little, I don't know, thing that was probably almost the size of the Switch without the Joy-Con. It was about that size when it was folded. And it would pop up, and it had this elaborate little kickstand mechanism where it could go to a couple of different angles and stuff. Because remember, the original Switch 1 kickstand was terrible.
Terrible.
So this would let
really
you
bad.
stand it up, but it also levitated the Switch about 2 inches off of the table so that you could plug in a wire and have it stick down the bottom and basically let you put the Switch on a table while you played, on the airplane or whatever. And I did use that. I really used that to get the Switch out of the way from the cable so that I could charge it while using it on a plane. So I'm very glad that they are kind of taking that out of the equation. They also fixed the kickstand, just by the way.
Oh yeah, we didn't write that down, but the kickstand is what it always should have been, which is basically put it at any angle.
Well, yeah, it's that, and also it's the full width of the console, similar to the Switch OLED. Although they on the Switch OLED, it's like a panel, like it's like a solid panel, and on the Switch 2, it's just like a U-shaped thing of, I'm assuming, plastic, maybe metal, I'm not sure. Where it can fold out to any hinge. I guess maybe it has to be metal in order to kind of have the rigidity that it would need. But the Switch 2 kickstand, the Switch OLED kickstand is excellent as a kickstand. Not that I've used it all that much as a kickstand, but like it's just fun to play with, and like the hinge just feels really satisfying. So I think that's a very welcome change. They did make a big deal about the new dock. So there's a new Switch dock that's a little bigger than the original dock, which is fine, I guess. It's got rounded corners, which is cool also. And most importantly, it has a fan so that it can enable that 4K gameplay when you're docked. So I think that'll be good for performance when you're playing in docked mode.
Did you find that your Switch 1 got too hot in docked mode?
I haven't played the Switch 1 docked all that much, but like the Switch itself does have a fan. I was thinking about this and I was like, the Switch has a fan. Like it doesn't need a fan necessarily, but I guess maybe the dock having a fan helps it kind of get rid of the hot air even faster, or maybe like cool the whole backside of the Switch console. But it's not like there's like a heat exchanger, like thermal paste or something on the back of your Switch that goes into the dock. Like it's still going to be just kind of blowing air on the back of the Switch. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what to think about that. Like if it's going to help a lot, but everybody seems to be making a big deal out of it in the gaming press. So I guess yay.
Yeah. I was thinking about it when I saw it. I was like, is it pushing air through the Switch somehow? Like, is there a vent on the bottom and a vent on the top, and it's just
like
kind of forcing air in? Yeah.
That'd be cool.
But I didn't find anything to that. I mean, that would have made a little bit of sense to me, but the way they made it look on the live stream, the Nintendo Direct itself, just looked like a fan that was blowing, like you said, blowing air on the back of the Switch up and out. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's going to help.
I mean, every little bit should help a little bit, The other thing I noticed on the dock, I don't know if you saw this in the render, but the dock includes Ethernet in the dock, which is cool if you're an Ethernet person. So I have a little network switch near my TV, and I will absolutely be plugging the Switch 2 dock into the Ethernet so that when the Switch is docked, then it can download faster. I do this with the Switch OLED. The Switch OLED dock also had Ethernet built in, and it is noticeably faster than my Wi-Fi to use Ethernet. That could also be because the Switch 1 has like Wi-Fi 4 or something in it, but it works well to do the wired thing.
When you play with your Switch, when you travel on the plane, in the hotel, whatever, do you play fully handheld, Steam Deck mode where you're holding the whole thing, or do you kind of put it up and play with another controller?
Depending on the length of the trip, I will decide whether I bring like a Pro controller or something with me. Oftentimes I'm playing with the Hori split pad that I mentioned in the pre-show, which does not support wireless, right? So it always has to be in kind of Steam Deck handheld mode. So that kind of limits my choices. Although I do sometimes like the detached Joy-Con, one in each hand, kind of down at your sides kind of mode. I think that's a clever way to play in certain cases. So I kind of miss that a little bit. And I'm looking forward to trying it with the bigger Joy-Con from the Switch 2. But I oftentimes will do that. And then sometimes, if it's a longer trip, I actually have several off-brand docks, like different kinds of smaller, less chunky docks to bring with that I've gotten across my travels. And so one of them actually is the Genki little thing that looks like a USB plug. Like it looks like just like a wall wart that has a USB-C on the one, like on top, and then an HDMI right below it. And you can just plug the USB-C into the Switch and the HDMI into the TV, and then it's a dock. Like, and it just looks like a little cube on the wall, which is really kind of clever, and it works well. So I've done that kind of thing before when traveling, and then I in that case I will take a Pro controller and I will use the Pro controller in my wireless world.
I like the larger Joy-Cons, and you're right. I guess playing one in each hand, kind of totally disconnected, that may work out well. I'm inclined to say that I will experiment more with taking them off and moving them around or trying different things, because they don't seem like they're going to be a pain in the butt to get on and off anymore, which always was a problem to me. I was so bad at it. I was so bad. I don't know why. I don't know why I couldn't slide it, or I couldn't unlock it, or the button to unlock it was broken, or it never locked in. So whenever it was in handheld mode, they would slide off. I don't know. I had a lot of problems with that. And I mostly, when I brought my Switch somewhere to play, I also brought a Pro Controller.
Yeah, I don't know why you had such trouble with that. I've never had trouble with the Switch, like Joy-Con sliding on and off the system. They've always been fine.
So I'm very excited about the larger Joy-Cons. I'm excited about the magnetic connection that they have now.
I mean, magnets are just cool.
Magnets are cool. I mean, it just seems like the right way to go in this. I hope they're strong enough. I assume they'll be strong enough. I mean, really the test will be, are they going to have a problem in a bag without any kind of like protective case over them? Like rarely will I probably just throw it in a bag, but like that's kind of the test for me, is if they're just kind of thrown, if the Switch 2 is thrown in a book bag without a case over it, are the Joy-Cons going to fall off? Is it going to damage the Switch? Are they strong enough for that kind of case?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I will never put my Switch in a book bag without a case around it. Like never, ever. But that's just me.
I can see myself doing it for short trips, like not like long travel through an airport, but like I'm taking it in the car and we're going somewhere and I need it for a half hour. I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. I've never done it with the Switch 1, but I don't really take the Switch 1 very many places. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe this isn't the right example, but I do feel like there is there's a possibility that the magnets are not strong enough to my liking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think the thing I'll be looking for is flex. So like if you like twist from the Joy-Con, right? If you like try to like I don't know, break it in half. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to describe.
Can I hold up the whole device with just one hand?
Yes, that's a good question. Yep. If it's just magnets, I don't know if that's going to be the case, and I do that with my Switch and Steam Deck and whatever occasionally. When I'm like, holding it, like playing, and then I need to like do something else with my one hand for a second and then come back to playing. Right. Like I'll obviously hold the device with my one hand. I mean, there's ways to get around that. You could switch to gripping it by the screen if you needed to or whatever. But it's not great if you don't have to. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what those magnets do. I mean, they look satisfying, right? With the little buttons, the little levers to release them. Is pretty clever. And then they also bragged about, I read I don't know if you read the interviews with developers, but they did like this little 4-part interview series with the 3 guys that were on the Switch announcement, the Switch 2 announcement. They did like a little Q&A thing that Nintendo put on their website that's got 4 parts that's just one big long interview. And they said like, oh yeah, we were so clever because we made the little buttons on the Joy-Con when you have them detached. Those are made of metal, so those are the things the magnets attached to that suck them onto the console. So I don't know. I guess they're proud of that. Importantly, speaking of controllers and Pro Controllers and things, your old Pro Controller will work with the Switch 2, so you don't have to buy a new one. I'm glad to hear that. I guess I'm not surprised to hear that. I assumed it was just a normal old Bluetooth controller, so I sure hope so. I mean, yeah, they are Bluetooth, so it should work, but it's not a given with Nintendo. Like, you just don't know. They could have just been like, oh no, it's proprietary, low latency, something. You got to use the Switch 2 Pro Controller with the Switch 2, but they didn't, so that's nice. They do have a new one though, and the new one, they have, I don't know, we'll talk about the C button later, which whatever, but they have the back buttons now on like a lot of like Elite controllers now. Yeah, the grip buttons. Yeah. What are they calling them? I don't know that I'll ever use them. GL and GR. But they're there. I did read about those a little bit. They seem pretty cool because they said that you can configure those buttons to be any other button on the controller, which is how they usually work. But that you can do that per game and that the system will remember that. So you don't have to say like, oh, they're always A and B or whatever. Like they can be A and B for this game and they can be X and Y for that game or whatever. So I think that's a really nice like quality of life feature in the operating system of the Switch 2. Yeah, that's nice. I still don't know that I'll ever use them. I've never really been super successful with them. I think there's like one case where I did them on my Steam Deck to play some game, and it was handy to do that. But I'm trying to remember even what game that was. It was something where you had to. Oh, it was.
I tend to hit them accidentally more often than anything else.
Yeah, I think I did it for Hades. I think I did the whatever button it is that reloads the gun in Hades, because it's some non-standard button that was hard to remember to reach. So I did it with a grip.
I think it's a stick press, which are sometimes hard.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And so I just, instead of that, I just mapped the stick press to the grip. So I could see that being an option for, those kinds of mappings are usually good.
Yeah.
They didn't announce it, but I'm looking forward to Splatoon 4 with the new Pro Controller. Maybe the grip buttons will give you an advantage.
You're going to be a pro Splatoon 4 player?
I don't think so. Speaking of those back buttons, though, they did also add them to the grip controller. So, like, the grip thing that you can slot the Joy-Con into. At least on the charging one, and I'm hoping on the one that's in the box, they added those GL and GR buttons as well.
I didn't know that there were two different kinds.
Yeah, there's a charging one and a non-charging one. So the one that comes with it is the non-charging one, or at least in the Switch 1 case. So it just slides the Joy-Con on there. But then there's one that you can buy as an aftermarket thing that is actually has a little USB-C port on it, and it can charge the Joy-Con while you're. They call it the charging grip, so it can charge while you're playing. And they have one of those for the Switch 1 also.
Okay. Anything else hardware-wise? I guess the other thing to mention, and I only want to bring this up because, like, I don't know, everything seems really cool. All of the things that they did, I really understand. There's some other stuff that maybe I'm not super keen on when we'll talk about a little later. But they announced mouse mode on their Joy-Cons, and that just seems really gimmicky to me.
Yeah, it seems a little gimmicky, but also I think it really makes the case for games like Civilization and stuff like that had Switch ports of them, and you were like, why? That's a game you have to play with a mouse, and now they at least have an answer to that. So I think that's kind of cool. I think the thing they showed where they were like, oh yeah, each one has a mouse sensor in it, and you can use them to play, wheelchair basketball or whatever. Like that, I think is gimmicky. But I do think that there is a certain set of games, and like first-person shooters probably are going to be like this too, where you'd want that precision of a mouse. And it's like a mouse with gyro, because the Switch controllers have gyros in them. So you can also do like the mouse, but like also twist, which is an interesting dynamic. I don't think I'm looking forward to doing this on my couch or whatever, and I'm probably not going to sit down at my desk and do it either. So maybe I'm just never going to use it. But I do understand, like, if you are a person that all you have is a Switch as a console, and you don't have a PC, and you want to play games like Civ, and you don't want to use controller controls, then that's an opportunity for you now.
I really just have one question from this. If I'm going to get a mouse, am I also going to get a browser?
Oh, I bet not.
I bet not too.
Almost certainly not.
So I don't know, the argument of like being, I don't know, a PC replacement just goes out the window to me. It remains to be seen. I did hear that the mouse sensor will work on like jeans, or like putting, like using it on your leg, and that was something that they actually demoed. But I don't know. I'm reserving judgment on this, on whether it's a gimmick or not.
I think it is a gimmick. I think there will probably be like 2 games that have it as like a well implemented auxiliary feature. Like, I don't know, you could do something where, and it would probably get really old really fast, but you could do something where, how like they make you, I'm thinking like Astrobot, right? Where they have those things where you walk over the little platforms, and then one of them rumbles, and then you do that to, that's the one you have to break or whatever. You could do that with the mouse, like a magnifying glass or something. Like, you could be like, oh yeah, pop off your Joy-Con and like do this, detective mode thing for a minute. Like that could be like an interesting thing to do once or twice.
Yeah, I guess that's another good point, is you have to detach the Joy-Con in order to use this feature.
Correct. And also you kind of have to slot them into the, you have to slot them into the wrist strap also, because the wrist strap has the little low friction mouse feet things on them. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but like that's going to be the preferred way to do it, I think. So yes,
yeah, I'm not sold on this feature. It's there. It's we'll see. I don't know. There were some, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. There were some games in the Mario Party Switch 2 version that I was like, okay, that mouse mode seems kind of cool, but like, I don't know if it's a bit, I don't know. It feels gimmicky.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how it goes, I guess.
All right, speaking of Mario Party, let's talk games.
All right, games.
The one, I don't know, system seller for me is Mario Kart World.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's
and the
the
fact
only
that it comes bundled means it's a system seller.
Of course. I mean, so the Switch 2 is $450. The Switch 2 with Mario Kart is $500, so it's $50 difference. And that is quite the deal because to buy Mario Kart World on its own is $80 for the digital download.
Yeah, I mean, if I ever were to do this, the bundle is the way to go for me.
Yes, absolutely. I think anybody who's buying one of these things like this summer is a no-brainer that they're going to buy the one with Mario Kart. Like, because what are you going to do? You're going to buy this thing and then just play your Switch 1 games? Like, that's not fun. Like, and
right.
For the first month anyway, Mario Kart is going to be like the major game that's out because the other big first-party game, which we can talk about in a minute, Donkey Kong Bonanza, doesn't even come out until July. So from June to July, the only first-party game you'll really have is Mario Kart World, I think, as far as like new stuff.
In terms of first-party, right.
First party, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of third party stuff that they announced that's like most of the games that play well on Steam Deck are going to be playable on the Switch 2.
Right. Mario Kart World, I wanted to make sure that I said is Switch 2 only, which not a surprise here from Nintendo, but definitely a break from the pattern of the PS4, PS5, and Xbox kind of stuff, where stuff right after launch kind of, major games not being backwards compatible. I mean, I think what was the one that did this that really surprised us? Was it God of War Ragnarok that had a PS4 version?
It did. Yes. Well, and they had a lot of them at the PS5 launch. They had a ton of games that were coming out on both for like the first year.
Yeah. So I did want to point out, I think it's the right call. I'm glad they did it. The Switch one is just so old. I don't know that it could ever have done Mario Kart World, but Mario Kart World Switch 2 only, which I think will probably allow it to be a lot better. And I think, good call.
Oh, absolutely. I thought you were going to say that this breaks the trend of having a game that was developed for the prior system that kind of got a port to the successor system. So like Zelda Breath of the Wild, right, came out on the Wii U and the Switch, which everyone forgets, but it did come out on both at the same time. And then prior to that, Twilight Princess came out on the GameCube and the Wii. It's just a thing that they do. And there was another one. Wasn't there a Wii and Wii U bridge one too? I don't remember what it was, but anyway, so it is a typical Nintendo thing for them to be like, oh yeah, we've been working on this so long. And I guess the one that is going to be Metroid Prime 4. It's not out on launch day, but it is coming around that time, and it's going to be on both Switch and Switch 2. So there's one of those, I suppose. But yes, Mario Kart World is only on Switch 2. Some people are like oddly annoyed about this, and I don't know why they didn't see that coming, because like of course it was going to be Switch 2 exclusive, and of course it's a system seller. But there are people on the internet that are mad about it, so whatever.
There are people on the internet mad about a lot of things.
That's true. Mario Kart World looks really cool. Like it's like kind of like Forza Horizon, but Mario Kart, where you can like drive around.
I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah, you can like drive around and like just drive around the world, and like you're not in a race, but you're just driving around Mario Kart Land World, whatever. Mario Kart World, I guess.
Yeah, it's like open world racing. It's cool.
I hope that they do something like Forza, where they have collectibles. Like I want the little billboards. I want the little like, do a trick off of this jump, or like I want some of that like non-racing meta world stuff in this game.
That would be cool. I didn't think about that. That would be,
drive around, get all the stars or whatever. Like, go do all this crazy racing, I don't know, trick shots or whatever.
It'd be a really good way to like naturally introduce people to shortcuts.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like make sure you go here. The only way to go here is to learn that the shortcut exists.
And maybe you can go on the shortcut outside of a race, and then you can use the same path inside of a race as a shortcut.
Right. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That is someone's comment that I saw as like one of the things that they use this open world part, it's a lot like Forza, is that when you have a party, you're making an online party. You used to do you remember you used to your me or whatever, your avatar used to stand on the globe. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
As you were building a party. Now you're just kind of in the open world as you're building a party, and you can drive around and stuff. And they mentioned, they're like, hey, this is perfect for exploring the world, finding shortcuts, exploring when it's low stakes, right? So they're utilizing this open worldness in the Grand Prix, which is a change in the formula for Mario Kart 8, where you used to just do 4 races in a row for the Grand Prix, and now you do a race and then you go from the race to essentially, Forza Horizon style, you drive to the next race, but that drive is a race.
Oh.
And then when you get to the next track, you immediately start the next track and do 1 lap on the next track.
Really?
And then it's over.
Oh.
And then you drive to the next track. You don't do 3 laps on the next track.
That's weird.
So it's a little bit of change in formula, but I kind of like it because the guy that I saw that reviewed it and went through this, he said, what's the difference on just playing 4 races in a row or doing a Grand Prix? It changes the formula of what the Grand Prix is. It changes it to something different. And I don't know. I like that. It said, hey, you're not just doing 3 laps on every single race course. You're traveling to it and then doing 1 lap, and it keeps the time of the Grand Prix down, instead of, making it a really long, travel and then do 3 laps and travel and do 3 laps. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a different gameplay rather than just, selecting 4 races to play. So I was cool about that. That was cool.
I mean, if they can make it so that the driving between takes as long as a loading screen in Mario Kart 8 on the Switch 1, then it'll be basically a wash anyway.
Yeah, good point.
I guess it's better on the Switch than it wasn't. I had Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and it was very long for those loading times.
The Switch is okay. It's not that long. It's a couple seconds.
Yeah, that's better.
I'm hoping it's basically instant because we didn't talk about it, but the memory requirements on the Switch 2 are crazy. I mean, not crazy. They're high. So I'm hoping that Mario Party or Mario Kart World, basically no loading screens is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in this generation of hardware, everybody's kind of discovered fast SSDs, and the Switch seems to be on that train as well. So in the Switch 2, in order to use a micro SD card to expand, which it does still have a slot. And also they bragged about how it has 256 gig of internal storage instead of 32, which is nice, but we don't know how big the games are going to be. So we don't really know if that's going to be you can still fit 3 games on your Switch, or if it's going to be, you can put 10 games on your Switch now. But if you want to expand to micro SD, you have to use a micro SD Express card, I think is what they're called. And the micro SD Express cards are much more expensive, I would say, than the normal kind of micro SD cards that you would just get from whatever, because they are guaranteed to be a certain speed. So they're faster. And that's required. Similar to how if you're going to put an SSD in your PS5, it has to be at least whatever. It has to be NVMe, M.2. So they're setting some standards.
But we've seen the benefits of this.
Oh, absolutely. It's worth it.
On the PS5. The PS5 has been able to do some really crazy things. What was was it Ratchet and Clank game that did some crazy level loading?
Yeah, ripped apart. Mm-hmm. Yes, instantaneous level loading, so you could jump between all the levels in one cutscene sequence. It was so cool.
Yeah, so I think this will be a good. I think this will be a good experience, even though the requirements are a lot higher. But the Mario Kart reinventing a little bit. 24 racers now, up to 24 racers, which a little too many for me. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited about the change. I'm excited about a new Mario Kart. I'm excited about new levels, new tracks. I don't know.
Did you ever get the expansion tracks for the Mario Kart Deluxe?
I haven't done it, but those are, I mean, all the expansion tracks are old tracks.
Sure, fine. Yes, they're all from older games, but I actually did buy it, and some of them are pretty good. Like, they have some from the mobile game and a bunch from the older games and stuff. If you, we can maybe talk about this in a minute, but if you get the highest tier Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack thing, you get those Mario Kart 8 Deluxe expansion pass levels included. So if you're planning on doing that anyway, you'll get all those extra Mario Kart 8 tracks also. I just hope that they fix the online. Like, I'm remembering Animal Crossing's online implementation where it was like a whole process in order to go to somebody else's island, where there was a whole animation, which is probably when they were connecting. And like, I need this Mario Kart World thing to be like drop in, drop out, like fast. And I don't know that I trust Nintendo to be able to do that successfully.
Yeah, I don't see that, but
we'll see, I guess. But like, if it makes me pause my Mario Kart while somebody joins my session, like, that's no good.
No spoilers here, but Mario Kart World may be my system seller. It is the system seller. It may be my system seller.
Yeah. No, that's fair. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the like pre-order situation here a little bit later.
Can we talk about the really, really dumb decision that Nintendo made?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is a paid game.
Yeah, that's a choice. They did not announce what the price is, though, so it's paid for some amount of money, and I'm personally hoping it's like $5 or less, because all it really is a bunch of tech demos, and it should be a pack-in. But Nintendo doesn't do pack-ins anymore, so they decided that they're going to charge for this thing.
This needs, it's going to be more than $5. It's going to be a $10 or $20 game. I'm almost sure of that, but I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know. Astrobot was amazing.
Yeah. Astro's Playroom. Yeah. Which came for free, installed on the PS5 when you opened it. Yeah.
And it was a game. It was a full, it was an actual game. This is like it's not even, I don't know. They didn't show very much of it. It does not seem like anything more than a, click A, walk up to question marks, read, actual like gameplay elements, like mechanics. But, I don't know. If it's more than just what I described, then maybe a price is worth it. But, it didn't seem like that. And I don't know. I'm not disappointed. I'm just not going to buy it. And
right, exactly.
I don't know. I think maybe that's a shame.
It's too bad that they've decided to do it this way. And I am wondering if they haven't announced a price yet because they're like keeping their options open, and maybe they do say, oh, and it's going to be free for the first month or the first 6 months or the first whatever. Like, they could make it into a little kind of enticement, especially if pre-orders get weird and it's hard to get these things, or it gets more expensive or whatever. They could use that as a lever to look how nice we are. We're giving you the thing we should have given you for free anyway, for free.
Yeah, I think that would be a good compromise where, free for anyone that purchases it in the first year. It should be free forever, but that's a good compromise.
Yeah. There's one other big, like, first-party Nintendo game coming to the Switch 2 at launch or near launch, and that is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I mentioned it earlier. This is not Super Mario Odyssey 2, and therefore is much less interesting to me. But it does seem to be a kind of the open world 3D platform game type of thing, similar to Odyssey. So I'm really hoping that this doesn't like scratch the itch for Nintendo, and they're like, "Yep, we're good. We don't need to make any Odyssey stuff. No Marios. It's fine." I'm not expecting that. I'm thinking that they're gonna, by Christmas, we should know something about a new 3D Mario game. I hope, but this is a 3D Donkey Kong game in the vein of Donkey Kong 64.
I think your thoughts are correct. I think they need to hold something for Christmas. But this looked like a pretty cool game. I've never really done anything with the Donkey Kong character. Never really played any of the games that are Donkey Kong like centered or named or focused. But this, I don't know, seemed cool. We didn't see very much of it.
Right. It's got the big gimmick is that it's got fully destructible environments, and they're like, this is because of the power of the Switch 2, which is like, yeah, okay, it is. But it's a fully destructible thing, which could be good, could be bad. I've never really gotten into that as like a good gimmick, just because it's so figuring out like when it's advantageous to break stuff and when it's just annoying is hard because you're like, oh, I pushed the wrong button, now I have no floor underneath me, right? Like that's kind of a problem. So hopefully, I mean, it's Nintendo, so they've probably done a pretty good job of making it accessible, I hope. But yeah, it's looks kind of fun. It looks kind of interesting. I think it's one that I won't pick up at launch or like when it first comes out, because I'll just wait for it to either go on sale or for it to get amazing reviews, because that's what it'll take for me to be interested in this game, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
I remember playing Donkey Kong 64 at my dentist office as a kid. That was my experience with 3D Donkey Kong.
I'm like, I feel like I owned that game, but I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, it had the DK rap. That was the most memorable part of it for me, was that the intro of it was the rap. Anyway,
can you do any of it now?
It was just DK Donkey Kong. Like that's the part I remember.
That's the whole thing. Okay.
No, there's actually like a whole, like there's a verse for every one of the characters in that game, like for all of the Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong and whoever Kong. I don't know. Look it up on YouTube. It was kind of a cult classic.
You're right though that no Mario Odyssey got announced, and I guess I didn't notice that during the direct itself, but now you mentioning it, I was like, yeah, where's that? And I'm a little disappointed, and I like that you keep referring to it as Mario Odyssey 2.
It's what they should call it.
It's what they should do. 2. They should do a Mario Odyssey 2, because that was a great game.
Yeah, I was playing it, like I mentioned earlier, like I was playing it on my Switch, and it was really cool and really fun, and I was like, oh, the hat is a good mechanic. Like they could probably just do more hat stuff. Like it's fine. But I don't know. They didn't. I think they can
lean even further into like taking over other characters. Like,
yeah,
they did a little bit of it they did a lot of it in Mario Odyssey. But I think there's more space there.
Yeah.
Have you played any Kirby games before?
I really enjoyed one of the Super Nintendo Kirby games, so yes, but not lately.
They announced Kirby and the Air Rider, or Kirby Air Riders at the end, which, I don't know, apparently a cult classic kind of thing that people really liked. And they announced Kirby and the Forgotten Land somewhere in the middle, like a Switch 2 version of it. And I don't know, it just, they seem very... They seem in the same genre as like, Super Mario Odyssey and the Donkey Kong Bonanza, and like just, it's another character that does this cool stuff, platformy type game. And well, Air Riders isn't, but it struck me that I've never played a Kirby game. I've played Kirby in Super Smash Bros, but I've never played a Kirby game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kirby's cool. I mean, I've never played the 3D Kirby games, including I didn't play Air Riders in the GameCube era, which is what it was from. I think I played it at a demo at Target once. It was like a single button, like press A to go fast kind of racer game was kind of its deal, as I recall. But yeah, Kirby, I mean, I like Kirby on the Super Nintendo. Like you suck in enemies and take their powers and then do the platforming, and it's kind of fun.
Is Air Riders going to be a Mario Kart competitor? Like, what is this?
It's, I don't know about that. I don't know if it's quite going to be a Mario Kart competitor. It's kind of a different genre. It was like an easier, like easier kind of racing game. At least I think it was a racing game. I'm like almost sure it was a racing game. It seems
like a racing game. It looked like a racing game.
Yeah, Kirby Air Ride was a racing title that launched on the GameCube in 2003. So it had automatic acceleration, meaning the player didn't have to press any button to travel forward, because the gameplay was based around accelerating, steering, braking, and utilizing Kirby's signature copy abilities to gain an advantage. So that could be cool.
We'll see. Speaking of Switch 2 editions, though, I mean, because we mentioned that with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and they announced, I don't know, a couple, 10 or so Switch 2 editions, but the ones that really caught my eye were the two Zeldas.
Of course, yeah.
Because we've talked about performance with the Zelda games before, and just how, I mean, in some situations, in what's the newer one, Tears of the Kingdom?
Tears of the Kingdom, yeah.
Yeah, that in some cases in Tears of the Kingdom, like you're struggling to maintain 10 frames per second. So I guess I'm happy to see Switch 2 editions of these games, and I am very happy with how they decided to do the pricing. Where, you know, if you already own it, it's some upgrade price rather than having to rebuy the whole game. That's pretty consistent with other platforms, but I think Zelda Tears of the Kingdom could really benefit from this. It probably should have been on the Switch 2 from the start.
Yeah, it definitely should have been, but it wasn't. So whatever, I guess. This is they have not announced a price for these yet, but given the fact that they are kind of promoting the like Nintendo Switch 2 editions at retailers for $10 or $20 more than kind of the Nintendo Switch 1 editions of them, it seems like that's going to be the delta. So I'm assuming you pay 10 or $20 through the digital store to essentially upgrade the games you have, which should be good. That seems reasonable to me. Like, feels okay. There's also a list of games that are not like paid. Like, they're just like free to have a Switch 2 better option. And I'm trying to find the list of those right now, but there's a few games that are going to be like that.
First party or third party?
Super Mario Odyssey is on the list, so first party.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm trying to find a.
I wonder if it has to do with like how much work they had to put into it, right? Like Zelda's big games, they probably had to do more than just like compile for a new system, right?
Right.
whereas you know, the Zeldas, they probably had to go in and, you know, actually do some work and figure out how to optimize and whatnot. And their newer games, I think they're probably a little higher demand that could demand the upgrade pricing.
Well, and also the ones that they're doing paid upgrades for, they're adding something. I mean, for better or for worse, they're adding to the Zelda games. They're adding this like Zelda GPS thing that you can do through the Nintendo Today app, I guess.
Oh, right.
Where it gives you a little map on your phone where you can like look around and be like, oh, there's Korok seeds over here, which I don't know, sounds like a guide to me, but that's cool, I guess. So that's
they're
how they're
adding
justifying
sharing of your creations too in Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, so you can share like a QR code or something to give somebody your creations, which is cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Probably something you should have had from the beginning, but whatever.
Yeah. Super Mario Jamboree, is that the newest one? They're adding Jamboree TV. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mario Party Jamboree. They're adding Jamboree TV, which is the add-on or something else. I don't know. They're making a Switch 2 version of it.
And it uses the camera, which we did not talk about because I'm certainly not going to buy a camera for my Switch 2, but I'm assuming you're not either.
Not going to buy a camera. No.
Yeah.
No.
So anyway, there's camera support on the Switch 2, and neither of us is going to have one, so you're not going to hear about it here.
Nope. No.
But that's the gimmick for Mario Party.
They're adding different games, or they're adding more mini games to it, and you know, all that good stuff.
Yeah, the games that are interesting that are getting free Switch 2 upgrades are Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and Link's Awakening, which are the two in the same style, like the 2D kind of Game Boy ports of the remakes there. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which is whatever, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury, which was a Wii U game. So now I guess it's going to get a Switch 2 polish as well. And Super Mario Odyssey is the last one. So those are the ones that are interesting.
Yeah, that's
cool. So
cool.
those are all get free kind of patches basically to quote unquote improve playability, according to Nintendo. So
the other major highlight here is third party games.
Yes, they had way too many, in my opinion, third party games for this thing, which is good. I mean, it's good to have the support from the third party developers, but like I would have rather had a separate 45 minutes of third party people and have another 25 minutes in the Switch thing of other first party Nintendo games. Which we did not get. Instead, we got this like parade of game studios announcing all of the games that they've made in the past 3 years are coming to Switch 2.
That's a good way. That's a great way to sum it up.
Like they had the guy from Civ 7 who's like, Civ 7's coming to the Switch 2. Of course. Okay. They had Elden Ring, I guess, some version of Elden Ring. I don't know if it's like Elden Ring plus the expansion or what, or if it's like a cut down version or what. There's something Elden Ring coming. I kind of tuned out during some of this, to be honest. They showed 3 frames of Silk Song, which is the Hollow Knight sequel, and the internet lost its mind. I tried to play Hollow Knight on the Switch 1 and I'm not very good at it, so I'm not that excited about Silksong. Maybe I'll have to try it on the Switch 2 and see if 120 hertz makes a difference. The Hades 2 people were there saying that they're going to have Hades 2 on there, which is good, I guess. And then they spent a lot of time talking about the third-party thing from, I guess, FromSoft, is it? Called the Dusk Bloods, which is like a dark, Bloodborne-like game, and all the Bloodborne people went crazy. But it was later revealed that it's a online co-op game, mostly, which actually brings it up on my list of interest quite a bit.
I was going to say, that brings it up on mine and probably down on the whole communities that was excited.
Exactly. But like, even then it's all like, that kind of vampire gothic, like theming and whatever, which unless it's like a really good gameplay loop, I don't think I'm going to bother. But even, whatever. But so it's an exclusive. It's a Switch 2 exclusive. So it's probably not coming to PC and everything. So I guess I've never played Bloodborne, but the deal with Bloodborne is that it has never gotten a 60 frame rework since the PS4 when it came out, PS3, PS4. It's always been kind of a 30 frames a second, like twitchy, Souls-like-y FromSoft game. And people want them to remake it. And apparently Sony is the one that's standing in the way of that happening. So now everybody's like, oh, this will be the chance to have a good game that's high frame rate and whatever. So I don't know. It doesn't really get me too excited, but everybody is excited about it. So I thought we should mention it.
I think the key point for me here is we talked about it kind of at the top of the show with the Switch 2 being a competitor to the Steam Deck now. I don't know that. I mean, I haven't heard exactly what, chip is in here or exactly the specs on it. I don't know that we know the RAM yet. And if we do, I haven't heard them. But these kinds of games put it in the realm of a competitor, right? The Switch 1 would have never been able to do it. It didn't have the hardware to run this kind of stuff. But Chris has a decision to make now. Is he going to buy Hades 2 again on the Switch 2? And that would not have been possible on the Switch 1. I don't think it could have handled it.
I think Hades 2 could run on the Switch 1, maybe, because Hades 1 ran on the Switch 1 fine. I don't think Hades 2 is that much bigger of a game.
Elden Ring then.
Yes, Elden Ring for sure.
Right. It puts it in the category, which, I mean, again, it's priced in the category. It now has the third-party developer support, because it has the hardware in that price category. And I don't know that this is ever going to be my primary platform. I like the ability to play a game on the PC or on my handheld, depending on what kind of mood or where I am or how I'm traveling or whatever. But it's good to see that there is now that these options now exist.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I could see it swinging for me a little bit. I could see it swinging towards I'm going to take the Switch 2 everywhere I go for 2 years or whatever. And then that would encourage me to get things like Hades 2 for the Switch 2. But I don't know. I do like the Steam Deck and the fact that it is my Steam library and that I can get things on better sales and that I don't have to rebuy them. Like it's all, I don't know. It's all tied in with the Steam Deck, which I do really like. And that's, they're winning that game and they did it.
Any other games?
They announced, they showed a little bit of Metroid Prime 4, which they actually had formally announced 2 weeks prior with the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct. I guess it was 1 week prior. They did a Switch 1 Direct, which, of course, in typical Nintendo fashion, faked everybody out. And they're like, we're going to do a Direct tomorrow. By the way, there's no Switch 2. And then the week later was the Switch 2 one. Metroid Prime 4 looks cool. I'm played the original Metroid Prime on the GameCube. And I've considered getting the remake that they did on the Switch. But now maybe I'll just wait for the Metroid Prime 4. Metroid games are kind of fun. This is it's like a, I don't know, simpler FPS, I would say. It is first person, so you'll never play it. But that's, that's their formula. And it's got the mouse controls as an option, which I would be interested to try. I don't know. I'm hoping that they do a demo or something. That would be probably enough for me to just play a demo of Metroid, kind of scratch that itch and be done with it. But that one's, I don't know, it's on my radar.
The gameplay didn't look interesting enough to me. Am I missing something?
The thing about Metroid games is that they do the thing where you go into an environment and you can't do everything from the beginning. And so you have to go play the game and get some powers and then come back and go through the door that you couldn't go through before or whatever, using the, new gadget or whatever it is that you picked up when you did the, beat the last boss or whatever. So that's where the Metroidvania name comes from, is those kinds of games. So I don't know. It's kind of a generic shooter, or at least it was. But it's got all the Metroid stuff, so you can turn into a ball and go through little tubes and stuff. It's kind of fun. This one has psychic powers, if that's interesting to people. A lot of the internet is like, why? Which I get. It's fine. So anyway, I don't know. That one's kind of just, it's on my radar, but it's not a day one buy for me at all. The other thing that they did mention in passing is that they're adding yet another platform to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. So that's the $50 a year version of Nintendo Switch Online, which I'm kind of wondering if they're going to make more expensive as they keep adding all this stuff to it, which I hope they don't. But right now they have if you have that extra thing, you get Game Boy Advance games, you get N64 games, and you get Sega Genesis games. And now they're going to add GameCube games to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. And you can buy a Bluetooth Switch compatible GameCube controller now. So that's going to be kind of a fun little relic, I would say. It's like the Wavebird, but better.
So they're on GameCube, and then they're going to add Wii games, and then they're going to add Wii U games, and then they're going to add Switch games to the Switch 2, but in the expansion pack somehow. But then they're going to add Switch 2 games to the Switch Online, but eventually they're going to get to the point where they're adding the next console's games to the expansion pack before the next console's actually out. Is that how it's going to work?
I don't think so, but that's an interesting theory.
No, it's been fun to watch them add each one.
Yeah, there's kind of a question of if this is where they top off. This might be the Wii had so many games that needed such interesting motion controls and stuff, and it was kind of based on the whole TV tracking situation. I don't know if they could easily do that, even if you said you couldn't do it in handheld mode, you'd have to play it docked. I don't know that they could actually put Wii games onto the Switch anyway. Plus, at some point you start to kind of bump into the specs of the system, and can you actually emulate or recreate or whatever the games of that system on this new system, which the Switch 2 is much more powerful, so that should be good. You mentioned the chip before. I have heard that it is it's the cores of a 30 series NVIDIA GPU.
Okay.
So it's not that old.
No.
But that's the end of the games. And also GameCube games are coming, and Super Mario Sunshine is not in the first round of GameCube games. It's coming later, which is a miss on my part, I think.
Well, but it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's coming. But I don't know. But what did they announce? Soul Calibur 2 was one of them, which I actually had on the GameCube, was one of the games. And then they had two other games that they announced, and I forget what they were. But it was Wind Waker, non-HD. They did an HD remake of Wind Waker for the Wii U, and they're not doing Wind Waker HD on the Switch 2. They're doing Wind Waker GameCube. And then I forget what the third game was. It was whatever.
The one game tidbit that I think is relevant to us in this show that I wanted to share is Factorio had a expansion a couple months ago now, and they announced that expansion...
In case you haven't heard.
In case you haven't heard. That expansion... they announced is not coming to the Switch because the Switch wouldn't have been able to handle it. I wonder if the Switch 2 opens up the possibility of Factorio's Space Age coming to the Switch 2.
Yeah, it probably does.
I don't think it'll matter too much to us because
right.
We won't get it. We already have it, but it seems like a pretty obvious thing now. Switch 2 gets sure, add the expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I that would be nice for people that play Factorio on the Switch. I have tried to play Factorio on the Steam Deck. It is playable, but it is very different and not as fun. That is definitely a keyboard mouse kind of game for me. But I guess it's good. If people that play on the Switch can play with the expansion, good for them.
All right, Chris. I play games to play with other people.
Yep. And the Switch 2 has you covered.
I guess so. I don't know that Switch. So they announced Game chat, which to me, when they announced it, I literally said out loud, oh, no, actually, I take that back. I'm reliving the moment. They showed some stuff on screen where it was people's heads in boxes and they were lighting up when they were talking. And I was like, oh, that looks like a Discord call. Are they announcing Discord integration with Switch Online? I was like,
yeah, that'd be great.
There's no way that's what they're doing.
And you were correct.
And then, yeah, I was right. It looks exactly like Discord. They basically just reinvented it and called it Game Chat.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting feature, but I think like many things that were born out of the pandemic era distancing of people, it's too little too late to be cool and useful. If they had announced this in 2021, it would have been like, oh yeah, perfect, they've got it. But they are announcing it in 2025, and I think that is less of a thing now than it was. I mean, granted, I will say people are still very separated, right? People are still, like you and I don't see each other that often, and we wouldn't see each other to play Mario Kart, for instance. So like, I guess it makes sense. But also at this point, we're almost more likely to just jump on a Discord call while playing Mario Kart rather than going through whatever thing is in the system.
Right. I feel like there's going to be a lot of hoops to jump through to get this working well and correctly.
Yeah.
And I have
Share
a headset.
your 27-digit friend code.
Right. I have a headset. I have a PC. We have Discord. It's on my phone. I mean, I just feel like for us and probably for a lot of people that choose to play games with people that are remote from them, right? If you're choosing to do this already, you have already found a solution.
Yeah. I mean, I did see that I was listening to a podcast or something, and they kind of said, oh, maybe this is a hedge in case Discord gets too ad-ridden and terrible. Then, we can all go back to game chat. But I don't think that's likely.
I don't think. But they did. I mean, it's kind of full featured. I'll give them credit for that. It seems well done. They have voice chat while you're in a party together. Which is, I don't know, table stakes for other consoles at this point. But they added it here. They have video chat with that previously announced camera that Chris and I are not going to get. Again, while you're in the game. They had game streaming, which you can share. You basically share your screen and show others where you're, what you're doing or how, whatever. Again, kind of table stakes for Discord, but it's there. And then, microphones everywhere.
Did you see that demo?
I didn't see the demo, but I saw it during the presentation. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they showed it, which is, I mean, kudos to Nintendo for being honest, but like they showed somebody playing Mario Kart World and somebody watching their game stream, and it was running at like 8 frames a second. Like it was bad. Not great.
No, it was chunking. And if that's the best they can do, right, for a demo.
Well, and maybe they were just trying to set expectations. Like this is what you're probably normally going to get with Wi-Fi in your house typically, but like maybe if you're plugged in with a wire, it'll do better. But I had a feeling it was more of a like system limitation than a like network limitation.
Is it possible they did it specifically for the demo to make it very clear that this is your play and these are other people's play?
Oh, well, maybe. But like,
I don't
even
think
when,
so.
Yeah.
But it ran through my head. I'm like, are they doing this to make sure it's crystal clear on this, on the stream, like what's happening here? Or is this a representation of what it's actually going to be like?
I think it's a representation of what it's going to be like. And I think, I mean, again, good for them for not like making it look like it's perfect, because a lot of other game companies would just like slap on a video and put a little fine print at the bottom that says like, screen images simulated or whatever. Like this was pretty clearly like actually captured from a real, game chat call. So good for them.
The one thing, I mean, okay, so they added this C button, the chat button, the game chat button to all of their controllers that pulls up essentially this integration, right? The ability to mute your mic or add people to the call or, turn it on or off your camera or share your screen and all that. So that C button is on all the controllers now, and I don't think I'll ever press it. I don't think I will ever press that button, except for the fact that you and I, if we get a Switch 2, are going to try this because it's free for at least, I don't know, a year-ish.
Yeah.
Which is
cool.
the right call.
Yeah, absolutely. Get people hooked if it's good and if they like it, and then get them to pay for your online thing. I mean, I still pay $20 a year for Nintendo Switch Online because it's cheap enough and, small enough. And I do like the idea of it backing up my game saves and stuff in case I lose my Switch. Like, that's nice. And again, it's cheap enough that it's not a big deal. And the Switch is a portable console, so there's some advantage to that.
Right. If I played the Switch regularly, I would have Switch Online.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to keep mine for at least a little while. And also I use it for those game vouchers that I talk about all the time. So
the other feature that I was, I don't know, more on board with was Game Share. So we talked about Game Chat, when now we're talking about Game Share because they're really creative with the naming. And this seems cool. I don't know. I'm down for this. They had previously announced the digital cartridge where you can loan a game to another person, like in your family, or move games between consoles that you would purchase digitally. If you're logged into both consoles, which again is the most Nintendo way to do something ever. But it's pro-consumer in the ability to loan a digital thing that you bought to someone else. You can't fully transfer it, but it's better than nothing. But this is I don't know. I thought this was really cool. So essentially they said, if you can play a game locally co-op, right, on your own device, and but instead they have their own device and they could play it kind of there in front of them handheld, and you could play it in handheld in front of you. You can share the game to them, so that you can both play co-op together, but on your own devices, which I don't know. I would prefer to play that way almost every time. I'm remembering back, Chris, to the time that you and I sat in a Dairy Queen and played Splatoon together. Right?
We did.
And we each had to own the game, and Splatoon is not a co-op game, or at least I don't think we played co-op. But we played together and we were sitting across from each other. And I'm imagining back to that scenario where we don't have a TV. We don't have a central thing to sit around. We both had our own individual devices. And if we were to play a co-op game back then, we would have had to squeeze around your device to look at the screen together. And now with this feature, we each could have had a copy, or we each could have had our own screen on our own device playing the same game. And I really like that.
It's really unclear to me what the experience is going to be for that. Like, is it streaming the game from one of the consoles, or is it like sending you a bunch of assets of the game and then you boot up your own copy of it? Because that's how it used to be back in the DS days. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
The DS had a Mario Kart game that had the ability to have up to 8 people that would essentially download one level of a game, and they used
to play this on the bus when we would go on band trips. Someone would boot it up and everyone on the bus would connect.
And it would take like 5 minutes to transfer all of the game information so that you could boot up and play like one round of Mario Kart. I can't tell if this is that, or if this is like we're using the power of the Switch 2 to stream the video of the game, kind of like Steam Remote Play Together, where it's like the game is only actually running on one console and it's just kind of getting streamed to the others. There is a piece of evidence that suggests that might be what's happening, because you can actually mix and match Switch 2 and Switch 1 consoles with this feature.
Right.
So I'm thinking that means it must be rendered on the Switch 2 and then the Switch 1 is just getting a video stream. But it's hard to say.
I think it got announced for a couple of games. Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, which I've never played, but I've heard is really cool. Super Mario Odyssey is on it. Is on this. It has to be enabled per game, or kind of they have to allow it for the game. So you're not going to see people playing Factorio co-op
no
right away unless they enable it. But are we going to see this for Mario Kart? I don't know. Because it's a system seller, I don't know. Because it's such a high demand game, maybe after a little while we'll see it. But that would be the true kind of use case for me here with Game Share is you and I can go somewhere and you can own Mario Kart and we can play co-op. That would be the ultimate use case for this for me.
Sure, but honestly, who are you going to know that's going to own a Switch 2 and isn't going to have Mario Kart?
Good point. Very good point. I don't know, but statement still stands.
I mean, yes, fair point, but like almost no one is not going to have Mario Kart.
How about Kirby Air Riders?
Yeah, okay. All right, fine. Yes. That one I'll give you.
Hades 2. Is Hades 2 co-op? No, it's probably a single player.
No, Hades 2 is single player. But maybe it could be.
I don't know. I think there's I really like this feature. I play games to play with other people, particularly in person when you don't have a big screen to sit around. I think this is a really cool feature.
Yeah, I mean it's a typical Nintendo move, I would say. It'll be interesting to see how many games support it. I mean, it's probably going to be just Nintendo first party games for the most part that do support it. But it's good that they're doing it. Like it's cool that they're kind of going there. So I applaud it.
Okay, I have a really quirky thing to applaud Nintendo on.
Mm-hmm.
But the Switch 1 logo is like two Switch Joy-Cons kind of clicking together, sliding together. One starts at the bottom, one starts at the top, and they slide together, and it makes that really like iconic Switch click sound, right?
Right.
The Switch 2 logo is two Joy-Cons kind of being separated and angled apart from each other and just coming together as they're magnetically clipping together, but it's the same sound. It was chef's kiss update to the logo. It was so good.
That was very clever. Like, I think this magnet thing is going to prove to be one of the bigger like wins to the Switch 2 experience. But that logo animation, it was kind of a question of what are they going to do, and it also still lets them do their thing where they snap their fingers, during the directs to like show you stuff. I think somebody speculated they were going to have to like start clapping their hands or something as a Switch 2, like to tell you that it was Switch 2 versus Switch 1. But I think they're sticking with the snap.
It's the same iconic sound with a slightly different logo. And it just works.
Well, good job, Nintendo marketing.
All right, where does that leave us?
I think that's down to just the pre-order details that we've sort of danced around and haven't really talked about. They announced on the stream that they were going to do pre-orders on April 9th in the US, and I think they are like already open worldwide. Like I think the UK and like Europe already has Switch 2 pre-orders open, and I think people have been able to get them, like the pre-orders, that is. So anyway, pre-orders are supposed to go live in the US on April 9th, which is like a day or two ago by the time you hear this. But the next day they said, because of the adjusting tariff situation in the US, we don't know what we're going to do with pre-orders, with pricing really. So we're going to take a beat and not do pre-orders on April 9th. So who knows when you're going to be able to pre-order this thing.
For the record, they have not pushed or delayed or announced a delay in the launch of the console yet.
Right.
Just the pre-orders.
Right. Just the pre-orders. But I was already not super paying attention to the pre-orders from the retailers, which were going to start on April 9th, because Nintendo offered the ability to do their own pre-order, like a pre-order through Nintendo, which is exactly what I was asking for a couple weeks ago. In that it's just like, let me give you money and put me on a list and send me one when it's my turn. Like, that's all I want to do. I don't want to deal with scalpers. I just want to just get a console. That's all I want. And so they're letting you do that, but with a ton of caveats, which I'm assuming are anti-scalping measures. But I was surprised that they were going to go this far. The list is you have to have had 2 consecutive years of Nintendo Switch Online subscription, which I have. And you also have to have at least 50 hours of games played on your Switch, like on your Switch account, basically. And I think I heard somewhere that you have to be signed up for promotional emails from Nintendo in order to kind of be eligible for this priority pre-order situation. So I put my name in on the website. You have to choose when you put your name on the website whether you wanted to get just the Switch 2 or the Switch 2 plus Mario Kart World bundle. And obviously I clicked the Mario Kart World option. But I don't know if somebody might do it the other way. So anyway, the trick with that was, even when they were announcing pre-orders in April, they said that they wouldn't let people know if they were selected for the Nintendo pre-orders until I think the first week of May. So as far as I know, that plan is currently unchanged.
You can cancel a pre-order from a retailer though.
That's true. Yeah. And I might still, when they open, I might still try to see if I can get one and then cancel it.
So the 50 hours played, did that have a timeline on it? Like 50 hours in the last year or?
No, I don't think so. It was a little bit unclear because I think when it actually was announced, it said something about like a certain amount of time played. And then I don't know, IGN or somebody like asked Nintendo about it and they said, oh yeah, it's 50 hours. I don't know how that works, but, so anyway, but I had to make sure that I was going to get there because I was like, I know I have more than 50 hours between the two Zelda games, but like, did I have like the data sharing on or whatever? Like, did I have the right privacy settings set? Because that was the other piece. You had to have like game information shared with Nintendo, basically like game run information, which I usually opt out of, but like, I think I had opted in on the Switch. And I went back through my email and I found in 2019, they emailed out like a Spotify Wrapped, like a year in review thing. And it said that I had 71 hours played that year, which I think was the year I got the Switch. So that would have been Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild that I played in 2019.
Oh yeah, I might have it with Odyssey.
Yeah, so like I don't know. That was a win for me, assuming that they're going to go back that far in their database. I don't know.
I don't have 2 years of consecutive Switch Online sub though. So, I mean, this wouldn't have worked for me. But you got to sign up at least. You got to say, yes, I'm interested, or.
I mean, I think anybody could actually say, yes, I'm interested. And then they're going to do the big, map reduce on the database to see if you're eligible.
Okay.
Afterwards. But yes, I put my name in. Like you have to be logged into your Nintendo account, and then you check the little radio box and say, yes, I'm interested. And then they're like, okay, great, we'll contact you in May if that's an option. So yeah, it will work for me. I assume it will work for me, and I will try to get a pre-order somewhere else. Maybe I'm skipping ahead here a little bit, but like just for the hype of it all, I'll probably try to get a pre-order somewhere else. But I'm not going to stress if I don't get one.
So yeah, I guess you are kind of skipping ahead here. What are your pre-order plans? I mean, you're assume you're able to get one. You're going for it right away? You're buying it? You're going to have one, in June or July?
I am very conflicted about this, actually. Like, I am excited because it's a new Nintendo console, and I famously skipped on pre-ordering a Wii U and then went out and tried to buy one on launch weekend and succeeded, but like barely. I get FOMO hard on like new Nintendo console launches, and I just know this about myself. I would like to be able to wait for a Switch 2 OLED, but I expect that's not coming for like 3 or 4 years, and I don't think I'm going to be able to wait that long for Switch 2 OLED to come out and not play Mario Kart World and not play presumably Super Mario Odyssey 2 and not play, whatever, all the games that are going to come out in the next couple years. So I think I am going to just say, I know myself, I know I'm going to want one of these things, and I think I'm going to go for it and try to get one in this launch window, assuming that it doesn't end up costing $1,000. Because if it's like, oh yeah, tariffs and whatever, we're doubling the price, then I'm out.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't know what the price is going to be. I mean, I think it easily could peak into the $600 to $700 range. But
that would be too rich for my blood. I think.
To be fair, the Steam Deck would similarly be impacted. So, I mean, yeah, it's not like it's going to be the Switch is going to be more expensive than everything else. It's just we don't know what the impacts are going to be yet. So,
yeah, I mean, an interesting point is that Nintendo moved a bunch of their manufacturing to Vietnam instead of China to basically avoid tariffs, and now they're not to get political, but like they're getting kind of caught up in the same net here at the moment. So we'll see.
I was surprised with myself.
Oh,
on how much I got caught up in the hype of this direct. I went into it saying, yeah, Switch 2 is a, curiosity of mine. I'm interested in what gets announced and what's going on. And by the end of it, I was like, this looks amazing. I want this so bad.
I need new Mario Kart.
I need new Mario Kart. I want this. So I think I'm in a similar boat to you that like, if the price ends up not being super changed, like, I don't know, something happens and it all works out and it stays relatively in that $450 to $500 price range, which is still possible. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on a Switch 2. And try to get one as soon as non-stress. As soon as, not rushing it, but being like, okay, when's available? Or, yeah, I'll put in a pre-order and I'll get it whenever. I'm not going to pay extra for it. I'm not going to buy it from a scalper. I'll just, when one becomes available, I will get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm banking on this Nintendo pre-order thing to reduce my stress level for this.
I'm really impressed with what got announced. And it's the first party stuff that gets me, right? Not the first party, the exclusive stuff that gets me, the Mario Kart World, the system seller. But, Kirby and Donkey Kong and maybe trying Zelda again. And, I remember that I have fun with some of those games and I don't play them. I mean, there's no other way to play them. And I am very frustrated with the size of the screen on the Switch 1, and I still don't have an OLED version. And I don't know. I think this might be where the handheld console itself, and I'm not saying the Steam Deck is bad, but I'm just saying there might be enough improvements here for me to really kind of latch onto it at this point. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to go for it when the time is right.
Nice. Well, maybe we can, get on Game Chat and play Mario Kart World together.
Yeah. And I'll send you a camera to use so we can.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. No, but yes, that'll be fun. And I'll actually have a use for that C button on the controller.
Yes.
Well, we have gone long compared to some of our recent episodes, so we're going to try to wrap it up here. If you would like our 57 character Nintendo friend code, you can get in contact with us or share your thoughts about the Switch 2 by joining our Discord, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find any of our older episodes or read our show notes, you can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that might enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time. So, Jason, it's very fitting that we've been having this whole conversation about Nintendo today because my recent trip that I went on was actually to Japan, which, of course, is the home of Nintendo and the place where, Nintendo is from. So they have a few things that
And you went there for a press demo of the Switch 2 because of how popular and amazing PNA Podcast is.
Sure, if you want to think of it that way. And I just didn't mention that I got to play the Switch 2 this entire episode. Yeah, that's what happened.
There you go. We're just keeping it a secret. You're still under NDA.
Yeah, whatever. No, none of that happened. I was there for totally unrelated reasons. But I did watch the Switch 2 announcement live at 10 p.m. Japan time, which I thought was interesting, just as a detail that they actually put it at a convenient time for the U.S. and a relatively inconvenient time for their home market, which I thought was just a fun fact. And then I watched it, and then I researched a little bit. Interestingly enough, we didn't talk about this, but there is a Japanese-only version of the Switch because of the exchange rate between the yen and the dollar. So there's going to be a cheaper version of the Switch that comes out in Japan only, and it's Japanese language only, and it's limited to Japanese game cards or whatever.
Huh. Okay.
And it's going to cost like $330. So US converted. So that's kind of cool. But then they also will sell in Japan a worldwide version that costs $460, I think. So anyway, but that's not what I wanted to talk about here. So I was at the airport, Narita, which is one of the two big airports in Tokyo. And I found myself on the first floor of the Narita airport. And as I am there, I see a little display, a little Nintendo display, which is kind of cool. So they had a little Mario and Toad as a characters that you could take a picture with, which was kind of fun. But they also had a pretty cool thing, which was a gachapon machine of Nintendo stuff. So, gacha, gacha games and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
So those are all named after gachapon in, Japan, where they actually have these arcades where they have just tons and tons and tons of these machines where you get these little capsule toys. You get little balls. They had some of them in the US where you put in a quarter and you get a little army man with a parachute or whatever. But they are all over the place in Japan, and they they actually cost a little bit of money. Like they're $1 to $2 worth of money to use the Gachapon machines. But Nintendo had them set up at this this, I don't know, pop-up experience or whatever you want to say. And I'm going to send you a picture right now of the thing that I saw.
Oh, wow.
It is a gacha machine with little capsules in it. And the things inside the capsules are basically iconic, like, portions of Nintendo controllers. So they have the Super Famicom, I think it was, with the green, blue, yellow, red buttons. Like it was like a Super Nintendo controller with the multicolored buttons. Then they have the Super Nintendo controller with the purple, X, Y, and A, B buttons. Then they have the stick from an N64. Then the buttons from an N64. Then the C stick from a GameCube controller. And then the buttons from a GameCube controller. And these were all different things you could get randomly inside of these little capsules that are in the machine. And they had two other machines. One had a bunch of parts of like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, like, I don't know, Zonai little things or whatever. Those were not interesting to me. And the other one had basically the two halves of an NES controller and two halves of a Famicom controller. But naturally, I was drawn to this one that I'm talking about first, which is the one with all of the Super Nintendo, N64, and GameCube stuff in it. And the cost for these was 600 yen, which is like $4 to play this little random machine. Yeah, well, and normally it would be $6. Like normally the yen exchange rate is like closer to 100 yen to $1, but now it's like 150. So this was a deal.
Mr. Deal, who had a discount, who doesn't play gacha games. How many?
Yeah, that's me.
How many dollars did we put in this machine?
Well, I looked in my bag and looked at my coins that I had, the yen that I had.
You're like, I have all this leftover yen that I don't know what to do with.
Yeah. So
I couldn't possibly convert it back to dollars.
I mean, you lose so much on the exchange, like the money changer people take the money. Yeah, it's just no good. I mean, realistically, I could save it for the next trip. But what happened was I had three 500 yen coins and then a few 100 yen coins. And so I decided I'm going to play this a maximum of 3 times, which is $12 for those keeping score.
Good budget.
Yeah, and it was just the coins I happen to have. They had a change machine, and I had some bills that I could have used to get change, and I did not. So I exercised restraint here.
So what'd you get?
So I played 3 times, and the first time I did it, I got the Super Nintendo controller. So I got the AB XY. And these are all little keychains. Like they have like a little keychain thing on them. So are
you willing to put this in our Discord?
Yeah, I'll put a picture of this that I just sent you. I'll put this in the Discord. So I got the one that's second from left, which is the purple Super Nintendo buttons. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't really want that. Like, I mean, those are fine. Like of these, I guess those are fine. I would have rather had the multicolored Super Nintendo buttons if I was picking. Anyway, then I was like, all right, I'll try again. Because what I was really interested in was the GameCube buttons. Like the A, B, X, Y of the GameCube, which is the big green A button and the little red B button. That was what I was most interested in because I didn't really have an N64, so N64 wasn't really that big of a thing for me. But anyway, so I put in another 600 yen and I pushed the button, and it's got like this little like agitator in there, like it's all motorized. So like normally they do it like by a mechanical, turn the knob and it dispenses the thing, but this one was all automatic. So it spins its little thing and like the little balls, move around a little bit, and then it like nothing comes down. And I was like, okay, what's happening? And then it tries again and like nothing comes down. I was like, does it have I know it has a sensor because it makes noises. It makes Mario noises. So like as you put the coins in, it makes a little coin noise from Mario. And once it dispenses,
this is literally
it makes a noise
a loot box slot machine. Like it's
exactly
as
what it
physical
is.
Of a manifestation of a slot machine loot box that you can get with all the noises and all of the super like graphics and all of that you would see in Overwatch, but in front of you physically.
Yes, it was absolutely a physical loot box. So anyway, so it's doing this, and it hasn't. And I'm like, oh gosh, is it broken? It's broken, and it tries like a third time, and like moves around a little bit more or whatever. And I think it had like a different mode where it like went backwards a little bit or something, or I don't know. And finally, it dispenses something, right? And I was like, okay, fine, good. Machine's not broken, and it has mechanisms to persist until it gives you something, so that's good. I actually thought it might give me like 2 somethings, like it was one of those things where like bank error in your favor and you get 2. That did not happen. But I got my my next item, which was the stick from an N64, which is actually kind of cool. Like between the stick or the buttons from an N64, I think the stick is more iconic and kind of better,
more recognizable for sure. Yeah.
So I now have this keychain that's the stick of an N64.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, well, let me try one more time. Let me see what I can do. See if I can get the thing I want. And so I put my money in there, makes the little noises. I push the button, and it like instantly spits out a thing. And I was like, wow, that was quick considering the previous one was like not working. And so it spits the thing out immediately, and I pull it out of the machine, and lo and behold, it is my GameCube buttons.
Nice.
So I got the thing I wanted on the 3rd try. So it's actually really cool. And now I have these little fidget toys that are little half Nintendo controllers.
Very cool.
So that's my story. If you're ever in the Narita airport at Tokyo, go to the 1st floor and find the little Nintendo pop-up store because it's kind of cool.